What's up, everybody? Kevin here with South Metro Weather, and my goodness, I just want to start off by talking about the storms down in the Killeen Temple area, because good lord, they have been through the ringer today. I mean, there's not there's not much else to say about it. I mean, it's just been rough down there. Been at least what, two or three tornadoes reported down there. I know Storm Chaser Vince Whaley was there earlier. I was watching some of his stream. Just incredible stuff. We only had one storm that kind of made its way up into our area, and of course now we're getting a bunch of interference on the on that there. But my gosh, they just really got put through the ringer there. Only had one storm in our area, and that one kind of slid to the west of us. So I didn't really have to worry too much about that. And we have storms again tomorrow, and then more next week. So we're going to talk about it. I haven't been making the videos in front of the green screen, and I feel terrible about that. For one, I enjoy making them. But the preparation that goes into it, there's a lot of work that goes into it, making the graphics and then filming it and all that kind of stuff. And I've just had many things going on. I work part-time with Hope Health in Waxahachie, and so that's been pretty demanding recently. I mean, it's good work. I enjoy it, but balancing those two is rough in the spring. Of course, I never let it get in the way of covering severe weather, but sometimes the kind of the lower priority stuff gets kind of tossed aside. So again, I apologize if you really like those and those haven't been there. Yeah, I just, it's a bummer for me, but it's just the way it goes. I've got multiple commitments that I want and need to stick to. A lot of family stuff in the spring as well, a bunch of birthdays and a bunch of other stuff. So spring is just an all-around crazy time on top of severe weather season. So anyway, but I wanted to do this because it is more kind of daytime stuff tomorrow. So I want you to be able to plan by that. And tomorrow's weather event was kind of one of those things that I didn't really feel too confident in giving much detail about until the night before. And even now I'm thinking, there could be some variation in what we see. Sometimes in the spring, we have these storm systems where it is, it's like, when you have storm systems this close together, what this storm system does affects the next one, affects the one behind it, affects the one. So it's just, it's all a big domino effect. So it can be tough sometimes to kind of call what's going to happen. But we're going to do our best. So let's get straight to the HR model. And you'll notice that usually I used to do this at 7 o'clock. Now I'm doing it at 9 o'clock because I want to wait for the 8 p.m. run of the HR model to come in. See, here is the way the weather models work. The two short-term models are the high-resolution rapid refresh, which is the one you're looking at right now, and then the NAM, the more North American model. And those two are shorter range, deals. So the high-resolution rapid refresh, the rapid refresh means that it runs every hour. Those hourly runs are, 12, 15 hours, something like that. And then, you have the NAM, which is run every 6 hours. Well, the HR has an extended run every 6 hours, and those extended runs cover, 2 to 3 days. So that's, it happens every 6 hours, and the thing is, it's scheduled by UTC time or Zulu time, the universal, time. And that's 6 hours difference from Central Time. So when there's, that changes with daylight savings time. Right now it's 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. Otherwise, it's 1 to 7. So with all of that said, we're going to look at the NAM model. So, it's 9 o'clock. Or the HR model, I'm sorry. It's had time to run most of the way, at least what we need. Because after tomorrow, we actually get a few days of nice weather. So, so here's what we're looking at, and this is obviously showing the storms tonight. I want to back this off a little bit. So we have a cold front coming in tomorrow, and with most cold fronts in the spring, we get storms. So what I want to show you is overnight, you can see all of this coming together in Oklahoma. That's 1 a.m., 2, 3, 4 a.m. So we're going to see this whole complex coming together up north. And what I want to show you is that that's 9 a.m. So, that continues going on. I almost think that this is showing like an outflow boundary at 8 a.m. in our area. So there could be some showers depending especially on if we get one of those outflow boundaries and it wants to pop off. That's 9 a.m. That is showing some storms in our area. Front looks to still be up north. Now here's the thing. As we get to 12 p.m., we get to, that's 10 a.m. And I have, unfortunately, places to be around 11. So I'm hoping this thing will give me a little time. Give me a break here. I've got so many things going on. And the weather just wants to just interrupt everything. The weather loves to have my attention, and it will fight for my attention. So this is 10 a.m. Could have some showers and thunderstorms blowing up in our area. I'm not thinking these are going to be particularly intense. But watch what happens. 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock. So you can see the front continuing to move southward, and you can see this kind of out in front of it. And then as we get into the afternoon, well, that's what we're so used to seeing, right? 2 o'clock, 3, 4. So you know what? I need to take these. I apologize. I need to take these warnings off so that way it's not covering this stuff up. But you see, this is 4 o'clock. And what you'll notice is, one, it's mostly south of us. I think our southern counties, once again, like I say, south of 34, like it was today. South of Highway 34, I think that's where most of this is going to be. So if you're in the Killeen Temple area, I am so sorry. There's going to be more storm-free tomorrow. But it is focused south of us. And that's not to say that we couldn't have a few storms in our area through the lunch hour. But the meat of the severe weather, the lion's share of it does look to be 2 hours south. So that carries on. And again, it does show some showers and thunderstorms kind of in our area here as we go forward. And so, in fact, let me check something really quickly. Yeah, so... Okay, that's what I thought. I was double checking something with the Weather Prediction Center. Just trying to make sure I was thinking right. So, it shows this kind of stalling out. And like we talked about, when the front is stalled out south of us, we have this warm air that's overriding the cool air, and that can cause showers and thunderstorms on the north side of it, which looks possible. I think that's what the HR is trying to communicate here. So we could have more showers and thunderstorms, but the severe stuff, you can tell, is just kind of focused along this belt south of us. So, I mean, this is showing all the way up to, tomorrow night, up to, tomorrow in the afternoon. So, if anything, it's I was just actually talking to someone at the, at the Texas Motorplex, and I know there's races going on tomorrow. And my advice to them was, don't cancel, but kind of keep an eye on it. Because when we're behind the front here, we're behind all of the main, storms. The HR model, and I've said this before, likes to be really aggressive with convection at times, and so I think the meat of the heavy storms will be south of us, especially tomorrow afternoon. From 10 to 1, that's when the front is going to be closer to our area. We'll see what that does, but we won't really be warming up that much at that point, so it's going to be tough to call. But once it gets south of us, that's when you can see everything kind of blowing up. And most of it is south of us. But I told them, don't cancel anything tomorrow, but watch it. And I know water, rainwater can impact the track and that sort of thing too. So if you're going to the Motorplex, just know that was my recommendation to them is, don't cancel. I don't think it's enough of a rain chance to cancel, but I do think... that, at least part of the day. If anything, they may have to delay for a little bit, And they'll be watching the radar on site too, and they'll have a direct line of communication to me. So with all of that said, just it'll be a good day to just kind of keep an eye on everything as we go forward there. So again, that goes until let's kind of refresh this. That's 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's just going into the nighttime hours. And then the good thing is that Saturday looks fantastic. We're well behind the front. High pressure takes over. No rain Saturday. Doesn't look like any rain Sunday. So, Scarborough Renaissance Festival, beautiful weekend for that. So a great weekend for weekend plans. Tomorrow, iffy. It looks a little wet tomorrow, unfortunately, but as I mentioned, the likelihood of severe weather is pretty much focused south of us, and this is the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, you can see the slight risk. There's a marginal risk in our area, and I think that's mostly just as the front comes through, we could have a thunderstorm or two pop off, but really this emphasizes appropriately that the greatest chance of severe weather is going to be south of our area. So pretty much from, Hillsborough, Corsicana, Tyler south, right? So that's going to be where, we'll really start warming up. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, there's this, that we're not going to get anything here. We may have a few rumbles of thunder, right? There may be some things going on. And I will tell you, between 10:30 and noon, I will be out of the studio some. So if there's things going on, I will of course keep my eye on that. But I may not have up to the second, coverage and that kind of thing. But I also really don't expect anything severe or anything major during that time. Yeah, I mean, it looks like tomorrow a few showers and thunderstorms. Once the front moves through, we get into the afternoon hours. I'm just not really expecting a lot in our area. We saw it yesterday when everything moved through, and then we happened to have, especially when that front stalled, we happened to get some storms kind of on the backside of it. That can happen. So I'll definitely be watching tomorrow afternoon, evening, just to kind of see how things shake out. I will be watching the Arlington Renegades on that TV. So, I mean, I may be double duty, covering double duty there. But one way or the other, I'll be keeping an eye on everything. So let me jump over to some questions here. And, before we do that, I want to talk about next week. Just ever so briefly talk about next week. So let me get the warnings off. I shouldn't have put those up there. And I do see your questions. Put those questions in the chat. I'm going to answer those in just a little bit. But I want to talk about next week, because next week you'll see that we get a break Saturday through, I think, Monday, maybe Monday night, before storms return. And you'll hear this talk about an omega block pattern, okay? So this is what we're looking at. And this is the GFS model, just for your information. But it does a pretty good job of showing what we're expecting to move in here and kind of what this looks like. So the omega shape, the Greek letter omega, what that looks like. So as we get into next week, and let's see, where's the best? Yeah, so right there. So this is 10 a.m. on Sunday. Well, no. Yeah, Sunday. So 10 a.m. Sunday. I haven't moved my calendar yet. So if you are familiar with the omega letter, it looks a little like that, right? So that's your omega block, pattern there. Now, there's a couple of possibilities here. Let me get that pen back. So you can have storm systems that blow in and little disturbances and things that get caught up in that flow and it brings rain in. That's one possibility. Or you can have high pressure, a high pressure ridge that takes over and completely blocks anything. So really it's the question of, if we get some of these disturbances, do the disturbances come up through our area, or do they get blocked by the high pressure and go around? Right now, right this second, it looks like, and I'm pretty sure the yeah, the National Weather Service has us getting more rain from that. Um, and so right now, it does look like we will get a few rounds of showers and thunderstorms, at least two, maybe three rounds of showers and thunderstorms out of that deal. Now, Tuesday through Thursday of next week, I also have like 12 things going on. So usually, if I have a lot going on, a lot happening, you can pretty well bank on me being really, the weather being really busy. it's just That's just the fact of life, right? It just happens that way. But that's just kind of a fact of life. So we'll keep watching this, and there's time for this to change. But for right now, it does look like we'll have a few disturbances that come in and bring in some showers and thunderstorms. And I mean, they could line up here and just one after another. And this pattern tends to kind of get stuck. So sometimes it's here for a while, and I mean you can see that that those two low pressure systems, and that's what it is. It's two low pressure systems, one here and one here, and we're kind of stuck in the middle. So again, there's your omega shape. Weirdly drawn, but it's me drawing. What do you expect? So that's what we're looking at next week. But for tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms are possible throughout the day. And then by the time we get to the afternoon, could be some strong to severe storms, but looks mostly south of us. But hey, I'll be keeping an eye on that. So let me go back and see what questions I can answer for you. And I will tell you, I like this format because I can be a little more informal and not quite so formal that I can't answer questions and that kind of thing. And let's see. I was northeast of that same storm, and the tornado was bottom left. The picture was insane. So yeah, Shelby, you said you were in the Killeen area when it got kicked off. That's wild. What are your thoughts on possible rain in Ennis, if any? Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, Ennis tomorrow, again, showers and thunderstorms possible throughout the day. Brandon, once you told the Lancaster tornado story, I became a fan. I still remember that happening like yesterday. So my great-grandmother was involved in that tornado, and we still have a picture that we took that showed her living room. We've got several pictures of the house, but the one that always sticks with me is the picture of the living room there in Lancaster. There's a 2x4 coming in through the roof into the house, and it's right in front of the china cabinet, and the china cabinet is completely unbothered. I mean, you go around her neighborhood was pretty well wiped out. Her house was pretty banged up. It wasn't blown off the slab or anything, but it was pretty banged up. I mean, the garage basically just collapsed all around the car there, that kind of thing. It was just nuts. So, yeah, I mean, it's just it's a wild story. And if you go to Lancaster, right here just north of Ellis County, and you go into the downtown area, they have kind of a downtown square that's right off of Main Street right there. Take a right, and they've got that little square. There's one building that there's actually more than one, or there's not there anymore. You can see like the old floor. It was just, after the tornado was just blown away. But I think it was a bank at the time. I don't think it's a bank anymore. It might be. There's a bank at the time. And you can tell about halfway up the building, right at the top of the first floor, the brick changes. And that's because the top half of that building was blown away by that tornado, and they rebuilt with new brick. So just an interesting event there. Michael Hanlon, you said you missed the graphic for first thing in the morning. Have a 7:25 a.m. flight out of Love Field. I mean, you might have some delays. Unfortunately, I would just pay attention to your airline. That early in the morning, we may be okay. But just sometimes these things get here way early. So just, keep in mind that, there could be some delays. So you'll just want to watch pretty closely what's going on. Do the storms next week look like they'll be severe? It's a little early to say. Um, yeah, it's a little early. So let me see here. Yeah, so I mean, it's a little early to say if they'll be severe. I mean, it's in the spring, right? So there's always going to be that chance of some severe weather, but I don't think that the Storm Prediction Center has said anything this far out. I mean, my initial, obviously it's way too early. Yeah, the Storm Prediction Center says it's too early as well. But if I just my initial very early preliminary look, it looks like these will be more widespread rain. So I'm not thinking we're going to be dealing with much severe weather at this point. We may be, but it doesn't look like a major outbreak setup or anything like that. We'll have to get a little closer to know for sure. Jamie, it's hard to see when it's zoomed out. Can you do a quick run through of the times again, but zoomed in a bit more on the counties you cover? It helped to see the overall, but it was hard to see the actual counties. Well, and Jamie, the reason I did that is because there's kind of a wide area where everything's happening. So I'll go back through it, but I mean, it's hard to see the context of what's happening when I'm zoomed that far in. So I'll try to see if I can. Brian King, the good news is the first round of qualifying at the Motorplex will be around 2 p.m. The second round 5 p.m. So if it's not constant rain, they can still get the day in. Finals are Saturday, so it looks like a great day for it. Yeah, Brian. So that's the thing is the Motorplex, they deal with rain all the time. So those guys are pros. They know exactly what they're doing. They can handle this stuff. So you may have to be a little patient, a little flexible down there, but I'm fully confident that they'll handle it. And I'll be in communication with them as well to try to figure out, hey, if we need to move it a little bit, what does it look like? And maybe there's a opening coming in. Maybe we can delay it an hour or something. But yeah, no, we'll make sure we get the day in. I think it'll be okay. Jeremy asking, where's the weather cat? So the weather cat is conked down on the bed right now. I don't think he's moved all day. He's just been flaunting his little cat freedom all day, not paying bills, not working, no responsibilities, just chilling. It's been really in my face about that today. So Jamie wants us to do kind of a zoomed in look at the at all the models and everything. So let's try to try to give a closer look of what to expect tomorrow. Mark Rose, still a bank, Cowboy Bank. One of the buildings that are no longer there was on the square was the old bank. Yeah, that I believe Bonnie and Clyde robbed. Seems like that was a story. Well, that's the thing is just about every bank that was here during the 30s. So I mean, yeah, any bank that was there in the 20s and 30s in Texas generally is going to say they were robbed by Bonnie and Clyde. So you have to be careful with those sometimes. So Samuel Wilkinson, hi from Vicksburg, Mississippi. So I love Vicksburg. I am a big history buff. I am a shameless history nerd. I mean, I can go to battlefields and I can probably spend a week there and never get bored. I am a nerd to the fullest, and Vicksburg is one of my favorite places. Such a cool battlefield. So much history there. As Austin, just had to verify, we're not looking at anything severe. Currently correct. This is just chat time. Yeah. So this is more informal. Okay. Now the thing is, and I'm sure you're probably referring to. A couple of nights ago, 3 nights ago, when we had the raid going on, which first of all, I'm my primary platform is usually Facebook. I watch YouTube, but I'm not as engaged with YouTube creators and that kind of subculture. So I wasn't aware of what a raid was. I think I've seen that in other contexts, but it didn't click. And then when I got the flood of comments, see, the thing is that what I'm looking at has the comments from YouTube and Facebook and X all in one place. And when all of those comments were flooding in, there were people actively asking questions, and I couldn't see their questions. And that was right before a major severe weather event, or what we thought might be one. Fortunately, we didn't get near as much as what we maybe thought was possible. But I had people asking serious questions, and these are people. This is a very localized brand, right? This is not a national brand. So, when we're getting those questions, it's it's a little more serious. And I'm always told that I'm more serious than I need to be, all that kind of stuff. But we were talking about a fairly serious event. But unfortunately, this is a little more calm. So, as Austin on YouTube, yes, this is a little more laid back, a little more chill, that kind of thing. Shalom Picard, we're about to kind of go over everything again. So just a couple of things. Now, again, this is why I was zooming out. So maybe we'll start zoomed out, and then I'll zoom in when everything gets close. Jamie, maybe that'll kind of be a good compromise there. So this is 5 a.m., okay? 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m. 5, 6, 7, 8. So this, a couple of things here. I think that's the front. I think that's what HR is trying to do. And then I think HR is projecting a little kind of outflow boundary here. Anytime you have an outflow boundary, those go rogue, right? They do whatever they want. That could create some new storms, may not. I don't know. That's hard to kind of show. So this is 8 a.m. Here's our area. So we may have a little outflow boundary going at that point. And then we get to 11 a.m. Again, we have the front up north, and then whatever is ahead of it going through. So again, it's kind of hard to say exactly what it's going to look like, but the main thing to pay attention to is you can see the front continuing to progress, move southward, and then two things are going to happen here. And so I'm sorry I'm zooming out, but again, it's hard to show on such a local level. But 4 o'clock down mostly south of us is when really at 2 o'clock, 3, 4. So you can see that progression. We have more storms to our south. That's where the slight risk of severe weather is, where it's a little higher, better chance. And at that point, the front has kind of caught up. Everything's warming up. We're kind of getting the heat of the day. All that's coming together south of us, and that's why that area has the best chance for severe weather. With that said, HR model does have maybe a couple of rounds of some showers and storms behind it. Like I said, you can have the hang on just a second, I'm sorry. You can have the warm air going up over that cooler air, and that can cause some elevated showers and thunderstorms and that kind of thing. I think that may be what HR is trying to show here. But really the main takeaway from tomorrow is that showers and thunderstorms are possible, especially earlier in the day. That's when the best chance I think here is going to be. And then in the afternoon, it moves south of us. That's when things really blow up into more of a severe weather event, and that's mostly south of us. But again, I can't discount some showers and thunderstorms in our area. And it's kind of hard to see maybe a little bit of what HR is trying to show here. And I did say too that HR, this model sometimes gets really excited, gets really aggressive. Lately it's been more laid back, but I think this might be a little bit of an exaggeration of all of this behind the front. That said though, there's reason to, there's an argument there that it could be making. Brian King, you have a degree in meteorology yourself, and you really appreciate how you and Evan Andrews handle weather events, be weather aware, and respect storms, but not over the top scare people. I thank you for the honest interpretation. It is refreshing to see. Thank you so much. I do not have a degree in meteorology. I was terrified by the math. I'll be perfectly honest and upfront here and transparent. I do have a degree. I do have a college degree to go Tech. Recom Tech, go Red Raiders. But I didn't get a meteorology degree because the math terrified me. I have a terrible background with math in school, and the math and physics and stuff terrified me. So not that we use that on a daily basis now, but I mean I've been studying weather since I knew how to read, right? So I've been obsessed with it. So I've learned quite a bit. I could probably get a degree now with no issue. But it's also hard to get that online. The only online meteorology courses that I've seen where it's a full program is from Penn State, and that's not even a degree. It's like some kind of a certification or something. Um, yeah. So Samuel Wilkinson. Yeah, I've seen Ryan Hall, y'all. Ryan Hall has his own style. That's all I'll say. His style is different than mine, right? I don't do things the way he does it, and I'll leave it at that. Everybody has their own style, and his is different. So that's that. But hopefully that answers those questions about tomorrow. I feel like, by the time we get to May, usually in the spring, everybody's so tired of storms already. Everybody's gun shy. And, anytime you put storms in the forecast, it just puts everybody on high alert. Fortunately, tomorrow, at this point, it doesn't look too major. Of course, I'm going to be looking at models and kind of monitoring all of this. You guys know me. I'm going to keep the updates coming. Just watch, on Facebook and Instagram and X. That's where usually the periodic updates of, hey, here's the quick little thing go. And, of course, we stream on Facebook, YouTube, and X when severe weather's going on or when I need to give you kind of an update here. Chris Andrade, what about Reed Timmer? Oh my gosh, y'all are gonna make me give all these. Y'all, that's all this is gonna be now, right? Me giving takes on people. So Reed is a madman. However, I say that with the greatest amount of respect possible because it takes a certain insanity to do the work that he does, and he does important work. I mean, the man has a doctorate in meteorology. I mean, I'm not going to argue with him. He knows what he's talking about. There's been times where I feel like Reed has kind of gone down the social media hype train a little bit with some of the things that he's posted, and I think that that's unavoidable when you get too kind of far into that rabbit hole. And you start getting that social media ad money and it that check looks really nice and you go from there and it's hard to argue with that. But at the same time, I think that he's one of the few storm chasers that I've seen who really does things the right way, because I've seen him nearly hurt himself helping animals, everything literally from dogs to like cows. he literally pulled over during a storm chase to try to help a cow. Something that I probably would have done too. And then there was some of the greatest respect I had for him, and this was during the I think, what was it, like the Discovery Channel show or something rather. They were chasing a tornado, and then it was during the storm, and they came up on a neighborhood that had been hit by the tornado. They immediately ended the chase. And started going door to door to check on people. That is how you storm chase. Because if you're the first one on the scene, you become recovery at that point. Rescue and recovery, I think is what they refer to. But you're a first responder. At that point, you're done. Your priority then goes into helping people. So I had the highest amount of respect. I have the highest amount of respect for Reed. There are times where he does things that I don't think I would do, but that doesn't make him wrong, right? So I greatly have a lot of respect for Reed Timmer. Kimmy, you're saying you like Evan Andrews, Kevin, and Dan from KRLD, which is funny because we're all friends. Evan is a good friend of mine. He's been a great mentor. Dan Brunoff as well over at KRLD. So great. Evan Andrews is great. Dan is great. Dan and I are actually, I think we have a meeting next Wednesday. I got to make sure that we can go to, because if there's storms going on, then oof. Stephen Austin, thank you so much for your Cash App donation. Greatly appreciated, man. One famous line from hubby and I say from Reed is back up. Yes. And, his, there's also the like, Are you kidding me with this? So one story I have with Reed, really a couple of stories that I've nearly run into him was, I'm sure a lot of people here in Waxahachie remember when he went through town and he stopped at the AutoZone, had to pick up some auto parts for the one of the Dominator cars, that kind of thing. Um, and he was there, and I unfortunately didn't get to go say, hey, I'd love to meet him sometime just to get to know the guy. But I didn't get that chance. And then there was actually a ice storm here in Waxahachie in North Texas, and he was driving down 35 right by my house, and he actually got stuck. He got stuck on the side of the road, and I nearly went and helped him, and I was getting dressed and I was getting ready to go out there, and then he got himself out of it. But I was very close to, because I think I sent him a direct message and said, hey, you know, I live literally 3 minutes away. If you need help, let me know. I got you. Right. I mean, I was fully prepared to, bring him back here to warm up and kind of figure out his next step. Right. Just bring him to my house and allow him to hang out here and chill. But he got out of it. He kept going, and he was fine. So I've come close to Reed a couple of times, but never got to meet the guy. Malred, time for a collab with them. So I've tried. I've actually sent Reed requests to make to interview him, because I'd love to do like a Zoom interview with him or something like that, and I've never heard back. So unfortunately, we've tried that, but didn't get to. Let's see. Travis Bound prefer Kevin over Ryan Hall, Max Velocity. Yeah, I mean, you've got your different flavors out there of different weather streamers, and they all have their different styles, and they all have the way they do things, and I'm me and I do things my way, so that's the way things go. You hear that Sean Casey is building a new TIV. Excited to see him back chasing in the future. Okay, Sean, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. My son is obsessed with trucks and cars and stuff, so I haven't yet shown him videos with like storm chaser vehicles and stuff yet, but I plan to do that because he's going to get a kick out of that. He's my little 3-year-old future mechanic. Brian King said Reed is a very good guy. He knows his stuff, but he goes a little over the top, mainly due to the social media aspect of it. I have chased as well, and it can get intense. You have to separate the meteorologist from the social media persona. Reed is very excitable. Yeah, he is. Reed can definitely get very, very excited, and sometimes it can be a little off-putting. I mean, I don't blame him. You're excited about weather. I get excited about weather too, so I'm not going to blame him for that. It's just some of the social media content. It seems to mirror what some of these hype guys do, and that can be frustrating, especially when I would think that Reed would not want to be that way. But again, if you're trying to make it in that space, I mean, you have to go that way. You have to do things that way. So that's just kind of the way things go. In that space, that's just the way it is. Oh, that's Conley down in Central. I was wondering what that was. Conley Isom down in Central Texas. If you don't follow him, he's a great guy too. I think he's a teacher now and does weather stuff kind of on the side. What I wouldn't give to chase in a Dow, in all honesty, close enough to the action without putting my face into a tornado. Yeah, I mean, a Dow would be great. That'd be really cool. They had one of the Dominator vehicles at the State Fair one year. Pretty incredible machines. Yeah, Brian, they really are pretty incredible machines indeed. And they've put a lot of work and a lot of thought into that, all that equipment. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see. I wonder how much of... We got almost half the NAM, so we can actually... Whoa! I'm checking into something before I mention it on the air. Okay. There's no way that's right. So there's a page, this Basketball Rush, one of these sports pages that shares just anything. They just say anything and everything, saying that the Mavericks organization has reached out to Dirk Nowitzki to replace Nico Harrison. That's not true. I just looked it up, and there's nothing to put out there. So yeah, don't get caught up by those Facebook pages that will just literally say anything, regardless of whether it's true or not. It's just wildness. So it looks like, let's do one more here. Let's check the NAM model and see, kind of just for the sake of comparison and contrast. Interesting. Okay. So the NAM model, yeah. So this shows kind of something similar to the NAM or to the HR. So this shows maybe an outflow boundary around 8 a.m. Um, and then around 11:12 shows some convection here, and then yeah, in the afternoon, which is interesting. This NAM model appears to show the front lagging behind a little bit, because you notice 4 o'clock, everything's blowing up here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So interesting. That shows the NAM model shows a slower progression of the front. So we'll have to see what happens there. What actually happens with this. Samuel Wilkinson, Weatherwise versus Radar Omega. So I don't think I've used Weatherwise. I haven't heard of that. I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've used Weatherwise. I see it now, but I haven't used it before. So I'll have to look into that. But I know Radar Omega is fantastic. I've had really great luck with it. Stephen Austin, is there any kind of certification for Doppler operations? I really want to get into the weather industry, if you will, but don't exactly have the capital for a degree. I don't know, but I know that, to get into the industry, the weather industry as it is now, I mean, unless you go my direction, which is you just build it from the ground up yourself, you basically have to have a meteorology degree. I mean, that's kind of baseline in terms of getting into that industry as it is right now. So I don't know about certifications necessarily, but I know that a meteorology degree is basically the foundation that you have to kind of get into the mainstream meteorology, industry or meteorological industry, the weather industry. So I'm looking at Weatherwise, the online application, and it doesn't appear to be working. I don't see anything. That's nice, though. The satellite looks nice. But there it is. Interesting. I'll have to kind of check this out. Yeah, I'll check out that Weatherwise, because I've never used it. Stephen Austin, do you think there will be enough instability for any notable severe weather? I can assume severe thunderstorm warnings, but anything more severe. Stephen, if you're just asking about tornadoes, you can just say that. I mean, I have a feeling that's what you're asking. No, not really. I don't expect a lot of tornadoes tomorrow. We can't rule them out, but I'm not really expecting a lot of tornadoes to happen, just by virtue of the fact that it doesn't look. I mean, at least not in our area now. South of us, you might, but for the most part, I think the Storm Prediction Center is correct in saying that hail is the greatest likelihood tomorrow, large hail, but there could be a few tornadoes. We just, it's hard to say. So, but again, that's, if you want to see Saturday's weather, that's Saturday through 7 p.m. It's just, that's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just clear, nice and perfect. Beautiful Saturday weather. Got to get through Friday first. Cat Morrison, you said, thank you for keeping us aware. I live in a trailer, so I'm always interested in what the weather is up to. So, yeah, I totally understand that. And, Kat, I'm glad that we can keep you updated. Samuel Wilkinson, you've been asking about the hurricane season for 2025. I don't handle enough tropical weather to really make a call there. I just kind of generally lean on whatever the National Hurricane Center says. So if they're saying it's going to be a crazy year, I guess I will say, though, that I feel like we hear almost constantly that it's going to be a crazy severe weather year or a crazy hurricane year, and it just doesn't really line up that way. But we just keep hearing that year over year over year. And, of course, the thing is, too, that if they say there's a lot of hurricanes and we don't get a lot of hurricanes that hit land, that doesn't necessarily mean there weren't a lot of hurricanes. It's just a lot of them didn't hit land. So you got to be kind of careful about that. But for the most part, I don't really cover enough tropical weather to feel like I can accurately give a prediction there. But we'll see what the National Hurricane says. The National Hurricane Center, that is. Got another sign up for a weather call. Thank you so much. I asked because I work outside overnights, so while tornadoes are a mild concern for me, I'm more stressed about all the hail and high winds. So, yeah, I mean, tomorrow night, we'll have to keep an eye on it. It looks like, as we go through the later night hours, looks like that front will keep moving south. As we cool down, that'll allow the front to move a little more easily. So, after sunset, I think the front will start moving again more efficiently. Let's see. Robbie Chadson, I found your channel from the guy who viewer rated you. I'm still here. I subscribed. See something good did come from that. I definitely see what you were saying, though. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that whole situation, I wish I would have known ahead of time a little more of what was going on. It was just, if nothing else, it was bad timing. And there's just the fact that I run a local brand, right? So we don't see stuff like that happen. This is also not really an entertainment channel. I know that the channel that started that whole thing, they're more of a weather entertainment channel. This is more kind of informative. So it was just kind of a bad mix at a bad time. Because as I said earlier, all of the chat spam, yeah, like you say, the chat spamming was a problem. So when the chat spamming started, the way I get the chats is I've got YouTube and Facebook and X all together. So as people were feeding questions in, it just flooded. I could not see what was going on. It just went haywire. And it was frustrating from my perspective because, there were real questions. There were serious questions people were asking. And part of what makes this brand so successful is my interaction, right? So it was getting directly. And the other thing, too, this is my full-time job. So I'm working. This is not just entertainment. This is my job that I'm doing. So, it's just a little bit of a different kind of deal. But yeah, I appreciate any support that people give me on YouTube and elsewhere. YouTube has been tough to grow an audience there because, my primary audience is on Facebook, and Facebook does not like when you market other platforms. So it's been tough to market YouTube. But again, we're a local, brand. We cover this area right here between Dallas and Waco. We're not a national brand. We cover this area specifically. So, I don't go and cover storms in other states when they're going on there. I focus just here. So that's just kind of the way that things are. Weather is entertaining at the right times. It's just about finding the right times. Yeah, for sure. That's a great way to put it, Nicole, do you think we will have some storms tonight? You see some popping near Glen Rose. Let's see. Oh, looks like we got an outflow boundary. So, we might. As I've said many times, those outflow boundaries sometimes will blow up all kinds of little stuff. So I'll watch those, I'll keep an eye on it. She's talking about the storms here just to the southeast of Stephenville. Again, this looks like an outflow boundary from all of that convection to our south. And those are, hard to call. Those are hard to tell what's going to happen when you do have those little outflow boundaries, because they go wherever they want. They do whatever they want to do. So it's hard to call what those are going to do. But I'll keep an eye on it. But for now, it's a pretty low chance. I mean, unless we get another outflow boundary that just blows right through our area, maybe. But for the most part, I'm not sure. Sam Sumner, yeah, we've been talking about the rain chances for tomorrow. So basically, off and on showers and thunderstorms are possible tomorrow in our area. That's the best way to put it. This will post afterwards where you can watch it. You can go back and watch on demand. So you'll have a chance to go back and actually watch the more detailed stuff. But yes, showers and thunderstorms are possible off and on really all day tomorrow. Leo Martinez just joined. What's the chances in Waxahachie? Like I said, a couple of things. One, this whole thing will be reposted. So if you want to see the forecast information at the top, this will be posted as soon as we're done. And you can go, see all the detail there. But yes, off and on showers and thunderstorms will be possible tomorrow in Waxahachie. So, and that's kind of all day, right? So could be kind of a rainy day here, but I don't think it's going to be like constant all day. Can you possibly give a basic breakdown on an outflow boundary? I'm assuming it's air leaving the storm front, but you know what they say about assuming. So yeah, I mean, you're right, and we have all these storms to the south. So what this is, an outflow boundary is, yes, it's rain-cooled air moving out ahead of the storm. So when you have downward moving air, when you have the downdraft, that's what pushes the rain out of the storm, especially when it's heavier rain. So that cool air hits the ground and it spreads out. Well, it's got to go somewhere. So eventually it's going to move out from the storm if there's enough of it. And it goes out in front of the storm, and sometimes that can lead to new lift. I mean, you see here, over here in Erath County here near Stephenville, this outflow boundary is blowing up some new little storms. So those can happen. And I mean, they go, sometimes they'll go out, and usually it's in front of the storm that has the most, the most success or is going to go the farthest and make the most, impact. In this case, it's kind of behind them, right? So, but yeah, your outflow boundaries, that's what it is. It's just storms can pop those out. And, one of the crazy things that can happen in the summer is because of, you have a lot of summer storms that have gusty winds because there's so much force downward, right, in the storm. And sometimes you'll have a storm that gets squashed and it pushes out this outflow boundary, and then that's going in all directions. Well, then that starts like 4 different storms, and they all produce outflow boundaries, and that turns into 8. It just, sometimes the chaos caused by these outflow boundaries are nuts. So, they can cause a lot of chaos sometimes, and it gets really fun to watch. Robbie Chatson, you said you completely understand. Sorry about the punctuation, by the way. As you read it, I realized I didn't write that too great. No problem. The guy meant well. You seem cool, too. Yeah, I'm sure he did mean well. It was just, I almost kind of wish he had watched a little longer and kind of seen what we were doing, and maybe seen that it wasn't. I understand. I went back and watched his stuff. I understand he saw the cat and that got him excited, and he, jumped right into it. But I wish he would have watched a little longer to see that we were kind of in the middle of something. I mean, that's just it's just what it came down to. Bill Pinnell, we had 5 inches last night. Our local channel is saying that we could get up to 2 inches tomorrow, located east of Tyler. Yeah, that's a little outside of my area, so I'm not honestly sure, but that sounds about right. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a little more rain out there tomorrow afternoon and evening. And Robbie, yeah, I mean, the Stormcat 5, I forget what the name was, but he put on X is something like, that raid couldn't have gone worse. And somebody asked what happened. He said, we raided a guy that wasn't in a happy mood. And I clarified for him. I said, it wasn't that I was in a bad mood, but we were having a question and answer session, and we were trying to get through that, stream, and the stream was not, we don't, it's just a different culture, like I said. So, spamming the chat really got in the way of what I was trying to accomplish at that moment. And it got frustrating. So, and at the time, it also looked like it was an intentionally disruptive thing. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea, because when he published, we're going to raid you, I kind of disregarded that because I thought I've got questions I got to get through. So then, all of a sudden it's meow everywhere, and just, from my perspective, you have to understand that happened very suddenly, very quickly, and I had no clue what was happening. And it looked like an intentionally disruptive, thing. So I'm not going to have a very receptive attitude to that when I'm taken suddenly by surprise. And, like I say, it's getting in the way of what we were trying to accomplish. So perhaps it could have been executed a little better. A little more communication, maybe a little more, kind of research on his part. I understand he kind of it was a kind of a shoot from the hip deal, but it just wasn't a very good time for that, because I was trying to catch up and answer questions in the chat about what we thought might be a major weather event. But like I say, his channel is entertainment, mine's not. That's kind of the biggest difference there. But it is what it is. That's just the way things go sometimes. And now that I'm a little more aware of it, I'll at least know what's going on, but I don't know that it will be something that I'm going to be receptive to necessarily again, because I do try to keep up with that chat. That's what has made this brand successful in the past, and I want to keep that success going with what's worked before. So I think that we are, Travis, those raids are more for Twitch. That's what I understand to be the case now. For Twitch and for gaming channels and that kind of thing. That's the biggest difference, is that, if it was a gaming thing, knock it out. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely raid and do all that kind of stuff. But when it's this kind of channel, maybe not, the best way to do that. So just, and I mean, you watch his channel, you watch his video, and he was encouraging and pushing spam his chat, spam his chat, spam his chat. And I'm sure other people love that in other kinds of channels. But mine, probably not the best decision there, right? Probably not the best way to go about that. Jennifer Ayers, so we're kind of on the tail end of we've been on the air for about an hour now. So we're kind of on the tail, I'm just answering questions here. We're kind of on the tail end of this. This will be posted for, if you want to catch the discussion about tomorrow. That's kind of on the front end here. We're about to wrap up. But you're just kind of coming in on the tail end here. So I apologize if you're confused about what's going on. But we are, just like I said, we're kind of on the tail end of this stream. So unfortunately, raids usually are a shot from the hip. Streamers generally don't start looking for someone to raid until they're already about to cut out. Most streamers take less than 2 minutes. Yeah, so I mean, it's, yeah. Yeah, Kimmy, that's the thing. You for one didn't like it. You were afraid of looking for information. That's the thing. That's what I'm talking about, the culture difference. Very different audience from his to mine. So very different audience, very different expectations there. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure a number of my audience were completely freaked out by that. And I noticed that the viewer count went up when his people got there, but then it started to drop. As people on YouTube were like, what the heck is going on? What in the world, kind of freaked out about it. So then they started to duck out. So it didn't really have that positive an effect anyway. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. If you're just jumping in and you're kind of wondering what in the heck I'm doing here, the discussion about tomorrow's weather was kind of on the front end of this. This kind of evolved into just kind of a chat session here. And I try to do that every now and then. Not always, but I try to do that every now and then. Get a little less formal here with folks. But thank you so much for tuning in. This will be posted after the fact for you to go back and watch and see, all the details about what's coming tomorrow. Again, like I said, off and on showers and a few thunderstorms tomorrow. Does look like severe weather is possible, but mostly south of us. at this point does look like it's mostly going to be south of really from Hillsborough and Corsicana south from there. So could be kind of an all day off and on showers kind of deal. I don't think it rains the whole day, but I think there could be periods of showers and thunderstorms. And as far as severe weather, looks like the main issue with those severe storms is probably going to be larger hail. But aside from that, I don't think we have that much to worry about. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll have more updates on this later tonight and